This is how a car company turned the absence of sound into the most expensive feature in the automotive world. Rolls-Royce doesn't just build luxury cars, it engineers silence, and then it sells that silence for $500,000. Silence in a Rolls-Royce is not a metaphor. It is measured, weighed, and carried, literally, within every car. The Phantom VIII cradles nearly 300 pounds of acoustic insulation beneath its polished surfaces. The Ghost, his slightly smaller sibling, carries 220 pounds. These are not marketing exaggerations. They are the raw, physical heft of quiet, built into the doors, the headliner, the boot, and even the tire linings. For comparison, the difference between the two models is about the weight of a full-grown man, every pound added not for power or protection, but for the removal of noise. This obsession with silence begins at the molecular level. Rolls-Royce engineers select dense, multi-layered composites, including foams, felts, and viscoelastic barriers, each chosen for how it absorbs or deflects specific frequencies. The result is a patchwork of materials, some as thick as a winter coat, others as thin as a sheet of paper, layered with surgical precision. The numbers are staggering: 300 pounds in the Phantom, 220 in the Ghost, distributed so that no vibration, no whisper of the outside world can trespass into the cabin. But weight alone cannot buy silence. The company's signature architecture of luxury is built from an aluminum space frame, not steel. Aluminum offers a unique acoustic advantage. Its higher impedance means sound waves hit a wall and lose their energy rather than passing through. This metal, lighter than steel but stiffer, becomes the backbone of the quietest room on wheels, a sanctuary where the absence of sound is engineered, not imagined. Every decision, every added ounce, is a wager that silence is worth its weight in gold. And in a Rolls-Royce, that wager is paid out in decibels never heard. Layer upon layer, the Rolls-Royce approach to silence is not a single wall, but a labyrinth. Double-skinned bulkheads form the first line of defense. 2 sheets of aluminum, separated by a dense acoustic core, run the length of the firewall and rear partition. The structure traps and dissipates vibration, creating sealed chambers that swallow the low-frequency growl of the road before it can reach the cabin. Next, every window in the Phantom and Ghost is cut from 6mm laminated acoustic glass. Each pane is a sandwich, 2 sheets bonded with a polymer membrane, thick enough to block the shrill frequencies of wind and traffic, yet crystal clear to the eye. The doors close with a solid, almost vault-like thud, thanks to triple seals and hidden gaskets that leave no pathway for noise to slip through. But the quietest room on wheels is built from the ground up. Rolls-Royce's silent seal tires, developed with a leading supplier, hide a foam liner inside each carcass. This inner sleeve cuts tire cavity resonance by 9 decibels, a drop that translates for the human ear to a perceived halving of noise from the road surface. The result is a car that glides over coarse tarmac as if floating above it. Engineers measure the cumulative effect with ruthless precision. Compared to its predecessor, the Phantom VIII is 10% quieter at highway speed. That figure is not an estimate, but a laboratory-verified reduction in sound pressure level, achieved by the sum of every barrier, seal, and silent innovation. Each element, the bulkhead, the glass, and the tire, works in concert, their payoffs compounding until the outside world is not merely softened, but erased. In this engineered hush, silence is no longer an absence. It is a presence, carefully constructed and carefully guarded. Inside the Rolls-Royce acoustic lab, a digital sound meter flickered with numbers so low that engineers suspected a fault. The Ghost's cabin, freshly sealed and lined with its arsenal of foams and double-glazed glass, registered a sound pressure level far below what any production car had ever achieved. Instruments were recalibrated, reference microphones swapped. Still, The readings held a hush so deep the equipment itself seemed incredulous. But the real surprise arrived when human subjects took their seats. Test drivers and engineers, accustomed to the subtle feedback of engine note and tire hum, found themselves adrift in a vacuum. Without the faint cues of motion, the body's senses rebelled. Some reported dizziness, a queasy imbalance between what the eyes saw and what the ears could not confirm. Others complained of a new kind of irritation, the amplified sound of their own breathing, the brush of a sleeve, the soft thud of a heartbeat suddenly magnified. One engineer described it as a silence that pressed back, like being wrapped in cotton too tightly. The pursuit of perfect quiet had crossed an invisible threshold. What began as a triumph of engineering, outperforming every internal target and surpassing even the Phantom's legendary hush, had become a sensory puzzle. Rolls-Royce had built a car so silent it unsettled the very people it was meant to cocoon. The measurement shock was not in the numbers, but in the realization that true luxury demanded not absolute silence, but a carefully measured presence of sound. The solution arrived not as a retreat from silence, but as a new kind of craftsmanship, one that treats sound itself as a material to be shaped and placed. Engineers introduced tuned seat dampers, devices hidden within the seat frames, designed to absorb stray vibrations and then release a faint, precisely calibrated hum. This was not music, not noise, but a barely there resonance, just enough to anchor the senses, to remind the body that it moves through space. A second intervention came in the form of boot-to-cabin ports. These are not vents in the ordinary sense, but sculpted channels that allow a controlled whisper of air to travel between the trunk and the passenger cell. Airflow is tuned by computer simulation, creating a gentle background pressure that fills the void left by total silence. The result is a sound environment as carefully composed as any luxury interior. Nothing is left to chance, and nothing is left empty. Safety, too, demanded its boundary. The formula for Serenity was engineered with a ceiling, a deliberate halt at the threshold where emergency sirens can still be heard above the hush. The car remains a sanctuary, but never a sensory prison. In this equilibrium, the Rolls-Royce experience becomes a dialogue between perfection and perception, a space where the absence of noise is measured not just in decibels, but in comfort, clarity, and the subtle art of knowing when to let the world back in. Spectre was supposed to be the purest realization of the Rolls-Royce promise, a car so silent, so free of mechanical interference, that the only sound left was the pulse of the road itself. At idle, the cabin registered 35.9 decibels, barely above a whisper. Even at highway speed, the meter held steady around 56.4 decibels, quieter than a city library. For a brief moment, demand soared. In 2024, Spectre became the most requested Rolls-Royce in Europe, its order books swelling with clients eager to experience the future of silence. But the promise of electric quiet met an unexpected wall. By the third quarter of 2025, Spectre deliveries had fallen by 45% compared to the previous year. While total Rolls-Royce sales held steady, the electric flagship's momentum evaporated. Clients who once celebrated the absence of engine noise now questioned whether something essential had been lost. The silence, once a badge of honor, began to feel clinical and experienced the stripped of the subtle drama that defined the Marques's heritage. Chris Brownridge, the company's chief executive, did not wait for the market to recover. In a decisive statement, he announced the return of the V12, updated to meet Euro 7 emissions. The all-electric pledge was quietly set aside. Rolls-Royce would continue to pursue electrification, but not at the cost of the visceral living presence that a V12 brings. The numbers, 35.9 decibels, 57.1 decibels, and 56.4 decibels, had proven what engineering could achieve. The market had proven what luxury truly demands. Silence inside a Rolls-Royce is not just emptiness. It is a stage, a blank canvas, where luxury reveals itself in forms that noise would destroy. When British rapper Skepta recorded a freestyle in the back of a Phantom, the cabin's hush became a mobile recording studio. Every word, every breath was captured in crystalline clarity, untouched by the outside world. This is not a party trick. It is experiential proof that quiet amplifies creativity, allowing the smallest detail to become the star. Nowhere is this more obvious than in the Starlight headliner. Over 1,300 fiber optic threads are hand-set by artisans in Goodwood, each one mapped to mimic the night sky over the factory's opening day. The process takes 9 to 10 hours, demanding a jeweler's patience and a composer's ear. In this silent chamber, the constellations appear to float, their presence magnified by the absence of distraction. The effect is not only visual, but emotional, a ceiling transformed into a private galaxy, visible only because the world outside has been erased. Goodwood itself has been shaped by this philosophy. In 2024, Rolls-Royce invested £300 million to expand the plant, not to chase volume, but to deepen the bespoke experience. With production capped at 28 cars per day and 2,500 craftsmen at work, each vehicle becomes a meditation on the value of removal. Here, silence is monetized, not as an absence, but as a rarefied space where artistry, imagination, and even business strategy find room to breathe. Rolls-Royce does not simply sell quiet, it sells the possibility of noticing what is usually drowned out. In this way, silence is not the end product, but the ultimate luxury, an invitation to experience the extraordinary in every detail. In a world obsessed with noise, Rolls-Royce engineers the absence of it and then sets a price on serenity. Today, the formula for serenity is both science and seduction. As electric silence becomes common, true quiet is rarer and more coveted than ever. Luxury isn't what you hear, it's what you don't.